everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We are joined today by our good friend Chris. He is Chris, aka 10pmtoclose. He is a recording artist, producer, future Grammy winner. He also made the intro and outro music for this show, and those are some banger intro and outro tracks, I gotta say. But Chris is joining us today because he just got back from Japan, and we want to hear about it. So, Chris, tell us what you did in Japan, dude.
Yeah, well, thank you both for having me. Big fan of the show. I watch or listen to every episode. Yeah,
long time listener, first time guest.
Yep, that's spot on. At least maybe like a Critics' Choice Award or something. No, Japan was really, really cool. I think I'm obviously, I feel like this is the year of people going to Japan. I know a lot of people, at least in Austin, that have gone, and I've talked to a lot of people that have gone. But I mean, it was great. Like, honestly, it met or exceeded any expectations I had. I'd wanted to go there since I was like a little kid. So, seeing everything and seeing the level of detail that like the Japanese people like put into really like every facet of what they do, like from the road signs to every train station has a jingle that somebody makes, which is kind of interesting to me. There's like a guy that seriously like hand composes jingles for each of the train station to like signal audibly to the people on the train that they're like what train station they're at. I think that's like really interesting. And then just the like everybody's very polite and caring and stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's like some darker sides of Japan, of course. I've heard, I saw a little bit. I had like one semi-negative interaction. I will admit I kind of brought on myself, and I can go into that later maybe. But I think the West, quote unquote, the West, can learn a lot from the Japanese people in general. It's an extremely beautiful country. It's like magical. Like outside, if you get outside of the city, like Tokyo is obviously like megatropolis, metro, whatever you want to call it. It's like, I think it's the most ideal, like the best like version of what a city should be is like, I think what Tokyo is. And then like, once you get out of the city a little bit, you get in the mountains or you get in the countryside. It's incredibly beautiful and very, like, I mean, it's very, Amy and I kept saying it's majestical. Like, it's majestic and magical.
Now, okay, so I do need to just say this for all of our listeners out there. My name is Steve, and I was actually born in Japan, in the city of Kobe, Japan. So if you've ever had Kobe beef, Kobe steak, that's where it comes from, is the city of Kobe. Everyone in the U.S. pronounces it Kobe. I blame Kobe Bryant for that, but it is pronounced Kobe. We moved back when I was like 1 or 2, so I don't actually ever remember being there, and I haven't been back, which is very disappointing. So that's what I'm going to learn from you today, Chris, and we're going to ask you some questions about this. But the other day you mentioned that you can rent a person in Japan to like hang out with for the day. Did you end up renting a person?
No, we didn't end up renting a person. I did actually look at it, and it wasn't necessarily cheap. Like, you have to pay like an hourly rate, plus like anything that you do, you pay for them to do it as well. But I mean, yeah, like you can rent like a friend, you can rent a girlfriend, you can rent a whole family. Like, you can rent like a fake wife, a fake kid, or a fake dad, or like a grandpa. Like, you can rent anybody you want. And
wait.
Yeah.
So when you rent a family, like, does the kid realize what's going on? Like, does the kid know, okay, like, I'm going to pretend this guy's my dad?
Well, I think it's grown, more grown people that are renting it, right? So it's like you're renting like a wife or like a mom, like you're playing into, they're essentially cosplaying as like your family. So you have to buy into the dynamic, I'm assuming. I would hope so. I would hope so. I'm sure. I don't know what their child labor laws are, so I don't know if I can weigh
Yeah,
in on
you
that
think there's
super
an
hard.
age? You think there's a minimum age for a person that you're renting? Because then you're getting into like child trafficking or something. I don't think you can like rent a 5-year-old. That would be
I,
some
I
Well,
absolute
think
as like a
shit.
ideally,
package deal with their parents, like, oh, I'm joining their family for the day. That's what I was thinking, but maybe that's just completely off. Like,
I don't know. It was like, I don't know I know their school year is a bit different than ours. Like, I think the beginning of the school year starts with the calendar year, but like, I don't know. I just like, I would see kids in school uniforms, but then I would just see kids that I think were in high school. I will be honest, it's really hard to tell if you're like 14 or if you're like 50 if you're Japanese. Like, they take care of their skin really well, so
Yeah,
there's like a
they
big,
age flawlessly.
yeah, it's kind of hard to tell if they're grown adults, or if they should be still be in school, or like what that is. But like, I swear there was like kids walking around in the middle of the day on like a weekday when I think they should be at school. But then I would see kids at school, because like we went to a museum, and they're like on a field trip, where I had this kid actually that was like ask me questions in English, like he was like practicing his English, which was kind of fun. He gave me an origami swan or crane, so that was fun.
how is the English in general?
In general, I think in Tokyo it's pretty good. Like 90% of the signs are in English too,
Oh,
because it's a very international city. They have, and since English is kind of like the common tongue of the world, like whether people like it or not, like all the Europeans would speak English too. So a lot of the signs were in English, so it was easy to get around that way. And then, but I will say, like, there's definitely a lot of people that didn't speak English. Google Translate came in handy quite a bit, for like, especially when we got to Kyoto. Like, it was less and less English. And then when we were in Hakone, which is like kind of up in the mountains southwest of Tokyo, very little English too. They knew some like basic stuff. We picked up some conversational Japanese as well, but yeah, not like, Tokyo was probably the best, and the kids knew it pretty well too. I think they're taught. But I actually just saw a stat yesterday online that Japan now has the lowest English proficiency rate of all the Asian, like East Asian countries, which I thought was interesting.
wow.
Yeah.
All right, so wait, did you say where all you went yet? Like which cities? And
No,
stuff?
no. So we did Tokyo, and we stayed in the Shinjuku area first, which is like, I guess they're ghetto, but it's not. It's like, it's their party area. Like, it's a lot of nightlife in that area. Stayed there for the first few days. Kind of did like the classic corridor. We did like Tokyo to Kyoto, did some day trips out of Kyoto, and then stayed in this place called Hakone, which is like up in the mountains, and essentially it's like a hot spring town, and like there's like some former volcanic activity, and like we took this gondola up. There's hot springs that come out of the mountain, and it almost looks like hell, honestly, because it's like a bunch of steam coming out of the mountainside with like sulfur, like it's all yellow because of the sulfur from the ground. But all the hot springs feed into like all the resorts, and all the onsen, like a lot of onsens there. And then we came back to Tokyo for a couple days to finish it, and we were in the Shibuya area, which is like very central Tokyo.
Damn. Okay, so some big famous food people, like even Anthony Bourdain, who's eaten in every city in the world, like even he considers Tokyo to be the best food city. Like he said that some of his best meals that he's ever eaten were in Tokyo. So I think we should talk about food. Like I know Jack was wanting to know if you ate any unusual foods. I also am curious what the best meal you had there was. So if you could highlight both, that would be sick.
Unusual. There were a lot. Nothing like, I'm trying, like nothing. I don't know. I will say probably my version of unusual is probably still I guess it's still going to be very far unusual for most people, because I have eaten quite a few different things and tried a lot of stuff. I usually would try everything like once. I
remember we had frog legs together in Austin that one time. That was fun.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway,
we did.
good
I mean,
times.
like Yeah, well, I used to think escargot was weird, but then like I love escargot. It's just delicious,
Yeah, it's good.
especially if it's drenched in butter. But um, you can go to like as far as the oddest or the weirdest, like they just they love their seafood. So there's some kind of more unusual. Maybe it's more that it's the food itself is not unusual, but how it's presented is a lot different than they would in the West. Like a whole shrimp with the whole legs, like fried, like you eat the whole shrimp, or a full crab that's been fried, like a very small crab. It's not like a big crab, but it's like a smaller crab that's like fully fried, and then you just eat the whole thing.
You eat the
Um,
shells? Is it crunchy? What
mhm.
the fuck?
Yeah, yeah, it's crunchy, and but it's still edible. It's not like it's not off-putting enough to like to not want you like to finish it, but you eat the whole crab. Um,
That sounds
I'm
cool.
tr- yeah, that was cool. And then like uni is a big thing. It's like a delicacy there. It's like the sea urchin gonads. Um, and it's like a big in sushi. And we also had it on like we went to a Michelin Guide tempura restaurant, and he served uni with like one of the last courses. And I'll be honest, I've never been a huge fan because it's just like extremely briny and like it just kind of it tastes like the ocean in the wrong way. Like oysters taste like the ocean because they're very salty and briny, and but like they can still kind of be clean or like feel like they're clean. Uni for me has always been kind of like the dirtier side of the ocean, which I guess makes sense
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
sea urchins are bottom feeders. So, but yeah, they love their seafood. So there's just like a lot of like I think we we were joking like Amy's parents aren't very adventurous when they eat. Like her mom doesn't eat salad dressing on salads. So
Oh my
My
god.
mom doesn't either.
What?
So.
okay, that's okay. Perfect. They can talk.
But
about
isn't that like
this.
a healthy thing? Because like the salad dressing like makes it not healthy anymore. Not
I
to
mean,
like
if you're like
sidetrack, but
no, no. I mean, you're right. Well, I so yes and no.
okay.
Like
Okay.
if you're having ranch soup, you're just dumping ranch on your salad. Yeah,
The
it's not
American
healthy
way.
anymore. The American way, the Midwest way.
Hell
But
yeah.
I feel like a little bit of olive oil and lemon juice is not gonna
Okay.
not gonna kill you. Not gonna kill you. Like
Okay. Yeah.
or like a little balsamic vinegar, like and some olive oil. Like that shouldn't like. And you can always make it light, whatever. But yeah, I think they would have a hard time eating like just because like a lot of the stuff you just don't know what it is too, and it's like you're looking at a picture of something, and like we had the Google Lens on the Google Translate, which was super nice for like some of the
Oh
menus.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was super helpful. That's also why I kind of got in that got in trouble a little bit. We can talk about that later, but that was really helpful. Like, I mean, like takoyaki is like a street food, and it's octopus and like pancake balls, essentially. And I don't know if a lot of people
Sounds
like
cool.
octopus. Yeah, it is great. It's tasty, and we're like they put bonito flakes on a lot of stuff, which is dried fish flakes. And they do a lot of fermented stuff, and they do a lot of just like very like pickled things. So because for traditionally Japan like doesn't have a lot of farmland, it's a lot of mountains. So they look to the oceans, and like what beef and chicken they do eat, they definitely like the beef is always thinly sliced. And you can get like tongue and like different cuts. Like the chicken, like at the yakitori places, would be like all these like the different cuts of the chicken that you wouldn't necessarily like gravitate towards, like the liver or just chicken skins, or like you could get like chicken feet and stuff like that. So yeah. Or just like whole fishes. Like we went to this izakaya place, which was awesome because it was like super. It was like walking back in time, but like they cooked the whole entire fish, and they served the whole fish to you with the bones and everything.
I
And they
love
kind of
that.
pull the.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I love it. It's so good. But I could see how that could be off-putting for some people because like the eyes are just staring back at you. So I don't mind it. So
I eat the
Yeah, but-
eyes. I like
Yeah,
eating
eat those eyes. Yeah, me too.
oh, you eat the eye?
Yeah.
Is that why? Do I need to start doing that so I don't have to wear glasses anymore? That
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
nice.
it helps with your vision.
Okay, man, I gotta go eat some eyes. Oops. But yeah, okay. So you asked me. That was like I think the weirder things. And here, let me get my camera. Sometimes gets.
Where are you, dude?
Yeah, my. Did it like the camera like disconnected? Oh. Let me get my cat off
Right,
me.
we can always cut. We can always cut this shit. Yeah, when you come back on camera, get the cat in the camera because
You want the cat in the camera?
yeah, that was the best part when you first got on and you had a cat on you. Like I'm not trying
Yeah,
to look at you
not in the camera. Just have the cat in the chair.
Just have the cat.
Yeah. But you still talk, so it kind of looks like the cat is the one talking.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that. Let's see here.
First ever podcast with a cat as a. By the way, guys, I know we're talking about Japan, but I found out that the French word for cat is shat, and I just think that's really funny.
Yeah, le chat. Le chat.
Shat.
Le chat.
How'd you figure that out, Steve?
I went to France, and I think Alita told me because she took French like in high school or whatever, and she was like, "Oh, there's a shat," and I was like, "Haha, yeah, shat, shit, poop, haha," and she's like, "No, that's literally what it's called, a shat."
French for cat.
Yeah.
Why is my camera now? Oh, god damn it, Miss Girl! I just sat on her.
Yeah, that's a big guy to sit on a cat.
You sat on your cat, dude?
Well, she just jumped. She jumped in my chair while I'm like
Shat on your cat?
shat on my cat. While I do this, can we talk about how Jack's Spotify Wrapped was the most generic Spotify Wrapped I've ever seen?
Oh my god.
Damn, dude. We're still recording.
You're not supposed to judge people for that. Like, he posted that, to share with everyone. You're not supposed to judge him for that. Like,
Yeah, maybe that's why I didn't get a lot of engagement. Like now I'm thinking about this. Like, should I delete it? Like,
oh, sick, dude. Future. Oh, you listen to Future? Like, that's,
you listened to Drake this year?
Unique.
Oh my god.
okay, yeah, that kind of sucks. Drake #2, but I think it's because of the features. He's just on a lot of features. Like,
yeah, blame the features. Blame the features.
I mean, he's got a huge catalog. Like, I mean, he's got a massive
dude, I went
catalog.
through a breakup. Future should be #1.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, that's
like,
true. Good point.
I was still sad. I was just trying to like be a hard ass.
Here, let me try something.
Oh, I feel that. Yeah, like a real man, like pushing down your feelings. Like,
yeah,
we don't actually. Them. Yeah, don't get emotional. Yeah, definitely don't address it or talk about it with anyone.
So did you fuck anybody in some Gucci flip flops?
I don't own any. I think, to be honest, I think Gucci is really gaudy. I don't even think it looks good.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that too far?
No,
like,
a lot of that shit looks so stupid.
I think it looks terrible.
No, dude.
Jack, remember, quiet luxury.
Quiet luxury.
Right.
We went to the
Gentle Monster.
We went to this. They like the Japanese love their luxury stuff, so we went to this luxury mall, and they had like a Balenciaga section. They had like and they were like, yeah, the stuff's like super gaudy. But then we also went to this like more of a streetwear designer store in the Harajuku area, and I'm like looking through. I was like, I wouldn't wear any of this stuff if I had the money. Like, it just looks dumb. But like a lot of them rock it, and like I will say the Japanese are really well dressed. Either like their formal stuff or just like their city wear, or if they are trying to like do streetwear or like more style like forward stuff, it's like they're like way cooler than us in a lot of ways.
Okay, but Dashi, let me ask you this though. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but do you think there's anything in those stores that like is your size?
No, we went to this Carhartt work in progress store, which is like
Carhartt, like from Kansas.
Well, yeah, it's from, but it's like their fashion forward Carhartt, like work in progress is their designer label, like side label thing. And I'm still looking for why this is not working, but
we know.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, we can tell.
We know.
I'm still like I'm just plugging around. I'm like, why the fuck did it just like disappear? But
dude, are you a boomer?
They didn't have anything that fit me, and it was funny. We were at this. There's this like there's this nice brand called Capital that comes from Japan, and we went to the store because Amy really likes a lot of stuff from there. And you have to take your shoes off to try on stuff like in the dressing room. And I wanted to try on a pair of like jeans because like Japanese denim is like supposed to be like really good, and it just didn't fit. It was too small, of course. But the Japanese kid that was helping me was like, those are the biggest shoes I've ever seen.
Okay, wait. Time out. We were supposed to talk about this
Okay.
on the real pod. I don't know if this is going to
still
be
the pot, Steve. This is still the pot.
Is this still it? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if we were
still
going to be cutting this.
We can
Okay.
still do it if you get.
All right.
I'm trying to just.
This
you
is
mean,
still it,
I don't know
yeah.
where the fuck
I mean,
this
it's
thing
mostly
went.
audio. Like, we play this shit on like Spotify and it's audio only, so like
Yeah, we're good.
it really doesn't matter that much.
I think it's just.
I just
pissing
want us
me
to
off.
cut out the part where we say Drake's my number 2. Like, that's the only thing I'd like us to cut out.
We'll see, man. I don't know.
We'll see. I think that adds to the whole thing, though. You know,
Yeah.
it adds to your personality.
All right, should we like go to the podcast again?
We're back. So,
So
Daphne,
I saw Japanese girls do this all the time, or they go like this.
what does this mean? Like Mickey
I think
Mouse?
it's like I think it's like the cheeks, like on like cute characters, like they
Anime
emphasize
cheeks?
the cheeks.
Oh,
Yeah,
Pikachu.
or they go like this. Yeah, I think it's like whatever. I was trying to fit in there. So
That sounds cool. That's better than like the duck, that we get in America. So,
the duck face.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
I am too. I was down.
Did the guys have any cool poses either, or?
They kind of do the same thing. A lot of peace sign, but never like this. It was like always. It's always like around the eyes, and like kind of doing a thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's cool because it's like it's interesting how like Japanese made anime or like was just like their animation, and then like it's like they influence the anime, and the anime has then come circled around to like influence the culture. It's like
Yes.
I don't know. It's very interesting. Or like it's like
Symbiotic.
everything is like it's just like this big like circle. They love their characters. Like they love their character. They have a character for everything. Like towns have mascots that are like cute characters, or like the delivery service has like a cute like. I can't remember. I don't know what the delivery service is called, but it's a black cat carrying its kitten in the mouth by like the scruff of its neck, and that's like their logo. So they love their cute. They love kawaii things, cute. So
That's cool. I mean, I always take pride in a good brand, Like, if you got, like, something catchy like that, I think that's great.
that's the Japanese are hyper capitalists. I think they're more capitalist than us as far as like buy
What,
shit.
dude?
Like,
Whoa! You watch your
Yeah.
mouth, all right? Don't fuck
Dude,
with America.
Since things are there's some stuff that's still expensive, like from an American standpoint. Like the yen's still pretty strong. It's like less than it was, I think, but because there's so many cheap things stack up quick. You just like spend a lot of money, and there's just so much cute shit. Like you just want to buy. You would walk into any store and there's like so much cute little things, and you're like, man, I don't need that, but I need it because
All their eyes are just staring at you. You're just surrounded by adorable eyes left and right.
Oh yeah, like I mean, all sorts of stuff. I mean, I got also like this little dude. He's just a little guy.
Oh, he's cool.
Yeah, just all sorts of things. Yeah,
Is
he's
that a
like
candy?
Buddhist monk. No, it's a statue of this guy that brought Zen Buddhism to Japan,
Sure.
and they're like everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah. Anyways, follow-up questions. What were they?
Oh, well, I guess it feels like you named a lot of seafood. So did you, was that kind of the primary situation, would you say, in Tokyo? Eating a lot of did that seem to be that kind of their specialty, or?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I mean, seafood is definitely like prevalent through every meal. It was cool. The onsen resort we stayed at in Hakone, they would do. We had food included with the with the vape niche, dude. No, we had breakfast and dinner included with our cost of the stay for the night, and breakfast you would get served fish and like rice, and some other stuff, which actually was really great. I really liked having like a fresh piece of salmon or a fresh piece of sea bream, which is like just a type of whitefish, for breakfast with rice and like some miso soup. It was really good.
Okay, cool. Did you have any moments where you're like missing American food at all, or do you feel like you're just always loving it?
Yeah, I mean, I miss spice. I miss spicy food. Which when I go to
Mm.
Europe, it's the same thing. I
Yeah,
miss spicy
same in
food.
Europe. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
like this
it
is
get, yeah,
spicy, and they just mean like it has spices, like they used like thyme
Cinnamon.
or something. Yeah.
well, we went to this really good ramen place, and you could pick how spicy you wanted it, and like I think I picked like the girl was like he's very spicy, like really, like it's four. Like it was like on a scale of 1 to 5, and I picked four, and I was like, "This is like nothing. I could have gone to five. That would have been no problem."
Mm.
Yeah, they don't do spice a lot. I would say they undersalt stuff than we're used to, but that's probably a good thing. Um, I did crave a burger, pretty bad, but they have good burgers there. I actually, when Kyoto, we went to this place, and I don't remember the name because it's pretty Japanese, but a very small place, and the guy that owns it was like super eccentric, and like he's like talking to us. He like knew some English, but he would use like Google Translate. He had Japanese, he had katanas, like samurai swords from like an old samurai that lived in Kyoto, and he was like letting us hold it. He like let me put on this like samurai helmet, and I ordered the like specialty, the biggest burger they had, which was like two patties plus like two big pieces of pork belly bacon, and he was so
Ooh.
excited. He was so excited that I ordered it, and this guy was really he was called the burger artist. He was the burger artist.
Beautiful.
He on his Instagram he showed us he was on like national TV, national Japanese TV for being the burger artist. So he's very
Wow.
proud. He's very proud of that because he just opened the restaurant this year, and they like got a huge following pretty quick. So I think he's just like riding the wave of momentum. Um, but it was really good. I mean, I really liked it, and at the end of the meal, he like asked if his burger would do well in America, and I was like, yeah, yeah. I was like, people would eat this for sure. Like, and he was so I don't know, he was just so pumped. Like when we were leaving, he gave me a hug. He wanted to give him a hug. Like so, we hugged on the outside the restaurant. He's like, we best friends, we best friends now, and I was like, yeah, yeah, we are. Like, yeah, sure, that was fun. Um, I like we did so much, but every day and like especially a lot of the food meals, like I always got because Jack knows this. Like I like food. Like Steve, you know this, but I also like wine a lot. So like we went to a wine bar. Like anybody I would talk to, I would always like talk to them about the stuff or like ask them questions. Or if I was at the restaurant, I would say everything was oishi because it usually was, which is just like delicious or yummy in Japanese, and they love that. So they were very happy. And like, yeah, dude, like gave me gave me a hug and was like followed me on Instagram, and like, it's just like, yeah, he's just a very eccentric dude. But it was like he was a very good guy who obviously cared a lot about what he did.
So wait, you said you drank a lot of wine. Was this like Japanese wine? Like,
I tried Japanese wine for the first time. I didn't even know
okay,
they produced wine.
okay,
And I think I had like so we went to in Kyoto. We went to this wine bar where we buy wine from in Austin that we really like called Golden Hour. He had just gotten back from Japan, and Amy was talking to him about it, and he recommended this place called Komorebino in Kyoto,
cool.
and very small place, only ran by this one guy who spoke like a little bit of English, but we did a lot of like the translating. He was asking me, like he only had set wines for each night that he would like lay out to sell. Um, and I kind of told him, I was like telling him like we've been to France and like I like wine a lot, and I told him like one of my favorite grapes is Cab Franc, and he was like, "Oh, I like Cab Franc. Let me show you a Japanese winemaker up in Nagano in the mountains that makes Cab Franc cuvées in Japan." And I was like, "Yeah, please." And I asked him, I was like, "Do they ship in the grapes from somewhere, like from France or somewhere else, and then like ferment them and bottle them here?" Or no, he's like, "No, they grow them, and it's like a newer thing there. Natural wine's like a newer thing there. It's like 10, 15 years."
Wow.
And it was fantastic. It was really, really good. It was like a Lower Valley Cab Franc. It was like
Wow.
really good. Yeah. Oh, and we went to this Michelin Star restaurant that was the food was really good there too, and I can talk about that. But on the wine side, like we got the wine pairing with it, and it's just kind of funny. Like Jack, you'll get a well, Steve, you'll get a kick out of this too. Just like Amy and I kind of walked away from this being like, we're pretty cool. And it was because we got suggested, that guy at that wine bar suggested to go to this natural wine store in Kyoto. Because we told him we were going to Hakone and we wanted to grab a couple bottles for when we're up in the mountains, because like it's hard to get around once you're up there. And we go to this, we're walking up to the door of this natural wine bar on Sunday, and it's the chef and the like sous chef from this Michelin Star restaurant in front of the wine shop, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what are you guys doing here?" And I was like, "We're buying wine." And he's like, "Oh, this is where we buy our wine from." So I was like, "Oh,
Wow.
okay."
It's always good to feel. It's always good to feel validated and like you're cool when you're in a foreign place like that. You're like, yeah, we know these guys. It's
We
not
know
a
of
big
it.
deal.
Oishi.
Yeah. Oishi.
Yeah,
Oishi.
Oishi.
Yeah.
Oishi.
Yeah. It was
Yoshi.
cool. Like I could tell the guy was like, he's like, "How do you know about this place?" And I was like, "I talked to the guy at the wine bar about it." And he's like, "Oh," like I could tell he was like, "Oh, okay, I have a little bit more respect for this guy." It's like, 'cause he's
That's awesome.
finding stuff that I like. So, which also that dude, well, whatever. I'll let you ask. I feel like I'm rambling.
No, this is good. This is good.
No, that Michelin Star restaurant was incredible. It's called LURRA. I think it's the best Michelin Star. I think it's the best restaurant I've eaten at now.
Ever?
And I've been, yeah, I think so.
Wow.
We went to the 9th best restaurant in the world in Mexico City. We went to like the 33rd best restaurant in South Africa, which that was really good. That was my favorite up until this place. It's not necessarily authentic Japanese food. This guy's he's half Japanese, half American. He was raised in California. He also worked at Noma in Denmark, which was like the best restaurant in the world for like a long time. Mm-hmm. He was the private chef of Leonardo DiCaprio, which I found out during the meal.
Wow.
Okay, that's sick.
Great
you
resume.
You should have led with that. Yeah, that's
I should have led with that.
I don't care about Noma.
Yeah.
Well, that came up because I tried one of my new favorite snacks for the first time in Japan: ginkgo nuts.
What's a ginkgo nut?
Well, a ginkgo is a tree.
Okay.
So there's like ginkgo trees, and it's like the nut they produce, and it's very tasty. It's like you know what a pine nut tastes like?
No.
Okay.
I think I've had pine oil.
Nah.
Oh, it's just a really, really good nut that's like a little bit more soft. It's a really good nut. It's really good. But that I told him, I was like, because he had ginkgo nuts in one of the dishes. So I was like, I had never tried a ginkgo nut until I'm in Japan and I love them. He's like, "Oh yeah, do you know who also loves ginkgo nuts?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Leonardo DiCaprio."
Leo.
Oh, he loves saying that. You know.
What a name drop. Yeah.
Oh, this guy, I was telling Amy, this guy's definitely like that. I'm very self-important chef, which he's earned it, of course. Like, he's really fucking good and runs like a really cool restaurant. But you could tell there's like a little bit of aura of like, I'm very good at my job.
Yeah.
But I made the joke. I was like, yeah, that's just a few things that Leo and I share in common. And he's like, oh, ha.
What are the other things? What are the other things you share in common with Leo?
Oh, just extremely handsome. I only date women under 24.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But no, I asked him, I was like, is there any other like weird eating habits or something that Leo had. And he's like, honestly, no, Leo was actually really cool. But Tobey Maguire, his next door neighbor, was fucking weird, he said.
Yeah, dude, Tobey Maguire does seem weird. I think that makes sense.
He's been through a lot.
Yeah. 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 I was like, Spider-Man? And he's like, yeah, he's fucking weird.
I mean, dude, yeah, if I was almost killed by the Green Goblin and his son, I'd be weird too.
If my biggest movie ever, I had to wear a mask, I'd be weird.
Is that his biggest movie? I feel like he's in some other big stuff.
Seabiscuit, but I don't know. I think Spider-Man's better than Seabiscuit.
Okay, yeah, I forgot about Seabiscuit.
I feel like, man, he's in some other shit. Whatever. I guess, yeah, maybe that is the biggest movie I know him from. But yeah, that was fun. The Michelin Star restaurant was great.
How hard was it to book that spot? Did you have to book it out?
We booked it out a few months in advance, yeah.
Okay.
I would suggest to anybody that travels, I know traveling is expensive in general. Like, I get it. And especially going to Japan, like, the ticket is very expensive.
Yeah.
But I think always try to eat at, like, a Michelin Star restaurant if you can, if you have the ability to. Because, like, you'll pay, people will pay, like, $200, $300 to go see, like, a concert. It's kind of the same thing. It's like an experience. It's like and especially these formats where there's only 8 people or 10 people that are served at a time, and you're sitting on a bar, essentially like a bar facing the kitchen, watching them work. It's like a show. It's theater. Watching them put the plates together, talking to it, and they're it's great because I even find, like, yeah, they're fine dining, but they're a little bit more relaxed. Like, you can joke around with them and, like, talk to them, and they'll, like, kind of, he was telling me about Leo, like, when we were sitting there. So, it's fun. It's fun. And it was also cool at the end, like, for dessert, they moved us to, like, more of a family style table. So you sat with the rest of the guests, because, like, everybody kind of kept to themselves while they were eating. But then, like, they sat us at a family table, and we ate dessert, and we, like, talked to everybody there. I actually met some people from Miami, Jack, that were really cool.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. He's big in the wine industry, he said. I didn't really get any further than that, but he was cool. He was like a sugar daddy. He had this, like, a hot, like, younger woman as a wife.
Oh, very. He definitely was from Miami then. Yeah.
Well, he said he lives in Coral Gables, but whatever. Like, whatever.
That's still par for the course. Wait, so would you say most of the people you were dining with were not Japanese, or? Yeah,
they were. All of them were American except for one guy. He was Japanese.
One guy was
at least at this restaurant. Yeah, at least at LURRA, like this restaurant in particular. Yeah.
Don't they have a word for, like, a gringo in Japan? Like, they call you, like, a geisha or some shit.
Gaijin, foreigner.
Gaijin, yeah.
Gaijin, yeah, it's a foreigner. I know there's, like, we read that, like, some restaurants, like, it's hard to get a reservation. Like, they try to only book Japanese people. That Izakaya place was, like, basically all Japanese people when we went. I think there was, like, some French family there. But that place was also really, really cool. But we didn't, like I said, I think there's this one time where there's this older Japanese man that was not having it from me, even though I was trying to be very nice. And I think that was my only Gaijin moment.
All right, everybody else finally, really okay, nice. It's time. You keep alluding to this. Let's just hear it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think I kind of brought it on myself a bit, but it was very good intention. I will say this. Wasn't trying to be.
We believe you. Let's hear it. Like we'll be the judge. Okay. Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. So in Kyoto, we went to this museum. It's like the National Museum of Kyoto, and they had this specialty exhibit about. He was a Buddhist monk named Hakone, and he brought what they called it, like, pure form Buddhism. It was like it's like a sect of Buddhism in Japan. Like, he started it. It was like in the 6th century. So he brings this out, and there's, like, all these historical documents and like some artwork, like a lot of portraits of him, things like that. But everything's in Japanese. Like, all the descriptions are in Japanese. Not all of them. like some of the main ones had English ones, but most of them were in Japanese, like the kanji. We walk in, it says no pictures. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm not going to take a picture. But Google Lens, like the Google Lens, like or Google Translate, I'm taking pictures of the description, having it translate and reading it. So I'm like looking at my phone, and we get through, and this is 4 floors. So we're like, we start at the top and then you work down. I got to floor 3 the whole time. I had one of the security women that worked there sort of, because Amy saw it, she sort of walked towards me, but then she could see that I was like, she saw what I was doing and I was reading the translation, and she walked away. She didn't bother me. We got to the 3rd floor and it gets a little bit more congested. There's like a formal line, and they're very polite. They like their lines and they wait. And so I'm in line, and this much older Japanese man, he's probably 70 something, is in front of me. And I'm much taller than him, of course. And I just kind of reached up above him and snapped a picture of the description to translate it. I'm not actually taking a picture, right? It's just taking a picture to translate it because it doesn't save the picture. And he looks up at me and he goes, "No camera." And I'm like, "Oh, no, I'm not taking a picture." And I go to show him. I'm like trying to show him, like, I'm not taking a picture. I'm translating it. And he looks at it for like a brief second. He doesn't even like want to look at it. And he's just like, no, like no camera, no picture. Like, and then this starts to cause like a little bit of a ruckus. And so one of the security people comes up to me and she's like, "No pictures." I'm like, "I'm not taking a picture." And I proceed to try and show her what I'm doing. And she looks at it for a second. Same thing. Just like, I honestly feel like even if they look and took the time to understand what I was doing, they would still just say no out of principle. But she was like, "No tablets, no pictures, whatever." And I was like, "It doesn't say no tablets. It says no pictures. I'm not taking pictures." And Amy's just like, "Just drop it."
Come on, you had a tablet, or was it a phone?
No, she said no tablet. I think she just didn't have a word for like no phone, right? I think it's just like a translation thing.
But Dashi's phone is as big as a tablet.
Yeah, probably. I do have the
Android.
Whatever the biggest one. No Androids.
That's good.
No, hell no. But yeah, that was like. But I got pissed because I was like, I'm trying to help. Like, if you guys would take a second to try to understand what I'm doing, you wouldn't be upset with me. And like, I don't know.
Right, because you're trying to learn. Like, you're trying to understand the stuff. Yeah.
In America, I don't even read it. You know, like, you're going above and beyond.
I wanted to read about it because I find that stuff very fascinating. Because like that's where all the temples come from, and like I know a lot about European history, and like I don't know a lot about Japanese history besides the Edo period and like the main period of the samurai we talk about, or like we romanticize in the West, only was like happening during like the cowboys. So like there's a huge like way like there's a big gap. Like the samurais didn't necessarily exist like when knights existed in Europe. Like those are 800, 1,000 years apart. So there's like this huge gap that I'm like trying to learn about, and like I play like games and like look at stuff, and like I have like Japanese tattoos that are all like folklore stuff. So I'm like wanting to know where this stuff comes from, and I think that's what bothered me was like, if you guys would just take a second to understand what I'm doing, I don't think you would be mad. But I think it was just, there's crotchety old men everywhere. So I think he was just like not having it. So that was like the one negative thing. But I got over it pretty quick. I was kind of pissed though. I was like, bitter dude. I was like, you're pretty like a lot smarter than I am still. So.
Okay, so speaking of you being bigger than this guy, and speaking of you sticking out as an American and causing a scene, were you the biggest person in Japan, or did you see anyone bigger than you? Because you're what? You're like 6'5". You're a pretty big guy.
Yeah, I'm 6'5".
I nailed it.
And you did. Thank you. Because 6'4", I'd be offended, So. Tokyo, honestly, no. Like, there were so many other Europeans or like Americans there. I think they're used to it, and like I saw other people that were tall. like
What about
that were either
Japanese
white.
people though? They're
I did see a few Japanese people that were actually pretty tall, like plus 6 foot plus. So Shohei Ohtani that plays for the Dodgers is like 6'3" or 6'4" or 6'5", something like that. So he's pretty big.
yeah.
I've heard about him.
And he's everywhere. Holy shit, his face is everywhere. On every vending machine, on every billboard. Like, he's everywhere. They love that dude, which I gratefully so. He's like the greatest baseball player ever.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yeah, it's cool. But in Tokyo, like nobody really cared. It didn't seem to bother anybody, or like nobody said anything. Honestly, I saw a lot of people that were pretty tall as well. Kyoto, there was a lot less. There was still a lot of white people in Kyoto, or just foreigners in general in Kyoto. But Hakone, like, and I mentioned why we were talking about this earlier when the camera was off. Like, we're trying on clothes, and the guy's like, "This is the biggest shoes I've ever seen," and I did hit my head on some doors walking out. When we were in Hakone, we ate at this unagi restaurant. Actually, Jack, dude, if you asked me my favorite meal, I didn't tell you this. My favorite thing I ate was eel. Dude, unagi over rice with the sauce they put on it is so good. I could eat pounds of it. It's so good.
How is it served? Can you tell it's an eel?
Yeah, well, no, it kind of just looks like a fish fillet.
Okay.
But it's like, and they love their little dishes. Everything's got a little dish. They've got all these little like mini dishes. Everything's got its own little thing, and they love serving food in boxes. So unagi came in a box with a lid, and it was served over as white rice, and then it's like this unagi that's like grilled, and then they put this like plum sauce over it. They cook it with it, so it's like sweet. That's like very savory still too. And I was walking out of the unagi restaurant, and I just smacked my head on the doorway because they always have the little
coming in or leaving.
Leaving. They always have the little banners over the doors, and I always have to move them out of the way. And I just was like walking out, and I just smacked my head on it. And the guy was like, "Oh."
Is it because you couldn't really see it? Because like the banners. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but there was like a line of Japanese people waiting outside, and like these, they were like giggling because I hit it pretty hard. When we got to the onsen resort in Hakone, we're like checking in. He's like running over the stuff, and it's okay to they provide haoris, which are like the traditional Japanese like what you would wear around the house, and like slippers. Because like you would go down to the onsen and you don't wear any clothes, right? So you get in naked and stuff, but you could wear it to dinner and stuff and wear it around the hotel. And the guy, when we got there, we're checking in. He's like, "Oh, we'll provide these for you." And he's like, "Don't worry, we'll get you really big ones." And when we got sat for dinner, the guy that sat us for dinner was like, "You so tall." So when we got outside of Kyoto, it came up a lot more, but it was funny. Some of the restaurants I would be like keep feeding me food, and they're like, "Oh, like okay."
This guy, he can put down some sushi. He's a bottomless pit.
Well, I think that's why I would always leave that. Like we left this soba spot, and I was like, "Oh, oishi," and like all the cooks in the back were like, "Yeah," like I think they were just glad that like. If that giant dude likes this, like, this is
he knows food. So yeah.
He's eaten a lot of it, clearly. Like,
yeah. I've eaten my fair share. I have a good baseline of what food should taste like.
So, are you have anything you're like, okay, when I go back to America, I'm gonna have to make that. Like, I can pull that off.
I would like to find some ginkgo nuts. Honestly. I would love to
ask Leo, maybe.
I should.
Yeah.
Let me.
Call Leo.
I'll DM him. And who's your ginkgo nut guy?
Get your nut, man.
Let me find some nuts. I would. There's a Japanese like market in town in Austin.
Okay.
And I think you can get eel from there. So I think I would try to make some eel at home. Do it over like a fire.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, like grill it. I think that would be really good. I've done tempura at home, so I've kind of done that. I would love to do. I would love to serve things in more little dishes, but I think we would hate our lives cleaning that up afterwards.
You're like, I'd
so.
rather have a big dish.
Yeah. Oh, you asked me when you were talking about what the one thing, I think the biggest thing I missed was bread.
Oh.
They don't have a lot of bread. A lot of noodles.
Maybe that's why they're skinny. You know.
Maybe. I also think they don't salt things a lot, so there's not a lot of salt. So like salt, you know, you kind of have like natural water retention. That's what like. That when anybody tells me there's like no carbs and stuff, it's like no, they eat so many noodles and so much rice. It's not. I don't think it's about the carbs. I think it's like they walk everywhere, and I think their food's cleaner in general. Like we just, people eat like chips, like Doritos and stuff, but RFK is gonna take all that away. So maybe we'll
no more Doritos. Yeah.
It was funny seeing RFK and Trump on the news when we first got there. Like they had him on Japanese news, and like the Japanese TV would like, they got the kanji, and it's still kind of cute. Like they kind of make everything cute, like even the news.
Like, so, Trump did one of these.
They just had like all the like titling around the screen on the news like is like kind of cutesy, and so like I think they like Trump a lot. There was an anti-vaccine, anti-mask march in Tokyo, and they were holding Trump flags. So I think they kind of like Trump. I think I don't know if when he got shot in this summer, somebody made this like anime spoof of like, there's this anime called JoJo, The Bizarre Adventures of JoJo, and it has like, they have these things called stands, and like the anime spoof is like Trump's stand, like stop the bullet. And like Trump's like this super masculine, like American guy.
Oh my
like.
Wait, can we all say our favorite animes? Dashki, I know you're a big anime guy, so you can go first because you'll probably have like a way cooler answer than us. But
Steve, we're gonna have the same answer.
I know we we will.
Oh well, JoJo is my favorite, and I did a very like weeb thing. I got a little like. What are these called? Like little figurine of one of the JoJos. No, dude, this wasn't even not that bad, dude. Some of those figurines are wild, like wild.
Tentacles everywhere.
Like
yeah,
Barbie's got nothing on that.
Yeah, I mean the massive chests and very their proportions were very exaggerated on some of these figurines. I was just like, I don't see any Japanese people that look like this, so I'm like, where is this coming from? But also, a lot of anime, they're all super ripped, and like Japanese people aren't necessarily like super ripped, so whatever,
Girly,
but JoJo's my favorite.
So my girlfriend's, she really loves those movies. What's the guy who made like Spirited Away and all those?
Studio Ghibli, the like Miyazaki movies.
Studio Ghibli, she loves those. I've seen a lot of those. Those are really good. But Jack, I think we have the same favorite. Should we say it on the count of three and see if it's the same?
Okay, ready.
1, 2, 3. Dragon Ball Z.
Not Pokemon.
Okay,
not Pokemon.
Okay,
or maybe
Pokemon.
Last Airbender, like.
That's not American. Japanese, bro. No. You just outed yourself. Okay, that's like Samurai Jack. Like they're like pretending to be. Yeah. Okay, Jack. Let me ask you this: who's your favorite bad guy in the series Dragon Ball Z? All right, mine's probably Frieza because he has 4 forms, and it's kind of cool to watch him change into his different forms. Frieza.
I really can only think of Cell right now.
Cell's
I think
cool.
he was green.
I like Cell.
Yeah.
He was pretty. I think he was a pretty tough one to beat.
Majin Buu's pretty hilarious. He was like cute at first, and then he became jacked and scary.
Which is chill.
Yeah, you guys are impressing me. I didn't know you guys knew that much about Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
I guess we all watched like Toonami growing up.
Exactly.
Yes, and actually, not to brag, but like I saw it before it came to America. My brother watched it. My older brother watched it when he lived in Japan, and he loved it. And he brought it back, and he showed it to me when I was a little kid. Like he had recordings of it and like videos of it, and it was in Japanese. It was in Japanese, but I just like loved watching it because it was just action and it was awesome. So I would watch it in Japanese, and then they announced that they're bringing it to America, and we were so hyped. And so, like, because our family already knew the show, we were all over it.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I would say kind of, going back to like why I wanted to go to Japan. I like Toonami was like probably the biggest intro into like Japanese culture that I think I had. Uh, that and probably like the food. Like we'd go to like the Japanese steakhouse, which you don't see those actually anywhere. There's no hibachi places in Japan.
Wait, but you never mentioned. Did you have ramen?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
How was that?
We had ramen twice. Well, we had ramen. We had like a famous one that's in Tokyo. That's like ramen's like fast food there. Like it's very cheap and it's very quick.
Kind of like here, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like we kind of romanticize it a little bit more, I think. But yeah, like the first one we had it for breakfast the first day we were there. It was great.
Okay.
This place was open 24/7, and you order it at you get it like there's like a vending machine, and you like pick the menu out, and then you print a ticket, and then you wait in line, and then when a seat opens up, you can't see them making it. It's like you're sitting in this like bar, but then there's like side panels on the side, so you're kind of like in your own little thing, and then you put you put your order down, like what toppings you want, like how rich you want the broth, how spicy you want it, any extras, things like that. And then they just like take it, they make it, and then they like slip it under the curtain. You don't even see the people making it. At least at this one, and that we had that for breakfast the first day, and that was really good.
Nice.
The other one we had was in Kyoto, which was like I think it was more of a hipster ramen spot. Like there was an American guy that worked there with the Japanese dudes. But that was really cool because they did a different style of broth. Like there was like a pork dashi broth. So dashi is just fish broth essentially, and then pork is obviously pork. But this one was purely dashi broth, and then they would put Kobe beef slices, and they would take a torch and torch it in front of you. So like they torched the beef to cook it on the rim of the ramen, and then you ate it with that out of there. So
Damn, that sounds
That's
cool.
legit.
it was cool. It was cool. It was really cool. I like all the food. I think that's the coolest thing about Japan is they have like fast food. Like there's McDonald's there. There's KFC there, which they love KFC for Christmas. If you guys didn't know that, yeah, it's like they eat a bucket of chicken for Christmas. But like you could walk into really like any spot, and it was really good. Especially like if it was like a mom and pop spot, it was always really good. So, and it was cheap, it was super cheap overall. So like if you got to Japan, you could make your money go pretty far on the food side if you just pick the right spots. Like we ate some nicer places, so like especially that LURRA place, like it was like American pricing. They were like, going to charge out the ass for this, but you could get by pretty easily eating well for not a lot of money.
Nice, that's cool.
Now, Chris, you said you had some nomad tips. We are a nomad podcast. So you said you maybe met someone, talked to someone, had some nomadic tips.
I did meet somebody, and I also read some stuff I thought was pretty interesting. I think one. So when we went to a Michelin Guide tempura spot, and like only sat 6 people at a time. We got there a little late. It's like all the restaurants are up in these like suites. Like you had to it was kind of hard to find. But it turned out there was a Japanese, I think, mom and dad, and then there was like a son and his mom, and then it was us. And I didn't, I'm just assuming nobody else speaks English or whatever. Turns out the kid was from Taipei and went to UCLA. So like he spoke English really well. Like actually he was basically had no accent at all. And so he knew English really well. He's from Taiwan. He lives in Japan and like travels around Japan and like between Taiwan and works for an American company. So he was telling me like, you can make it work. Like obviously you have to have the job to you can still make it work. He just has to take meetings in the middle of the night sometimes. So that was kind of interesting.
I've done that. It's not the worst.
I would assume it's not terrible. They have an office there, I guess, too, though. But I don't know. We didn't get too into detail, but I thought that was interesting that he was able to work for an American company in Japan in American hours. I thought that was interesting because it's like 14, 15 hours difference depending on like what side of the country you're talking to. And then I think like the other thing is more, I guess it's more of like, I wouldn't say necessarily a nomad thing, but at least like maybe long term, it's like you wanted to work in Japan for a while. I think it's in the news quite a bit that their birth rate has been declining for a while. Like people aren't having kids, and I was watching this news report, and they had some economists on, and they were talking about how like the economy will collapse in like 2056 if they don't bring in more foreigners there. So they're actually fast tracking certain people in certain jobs, or like if you're like in a high level university, to get citizenship really quick in Japan. And I thought that was kind of nomadic. I'm like, cool, you could be like a dual citizen like pretty easily if you wanted to be. But like the wages are kind of not that great there from what I've read. Like they're pretty stagnant over the years. They remained pretty stagnant. So, but I think that opens up opportunity. Like it said a business manager. They would fast track a business manager with 5 years of experience for like would take less than a year to get citizenship. So like you could get you could get citizenship there and like work and live there pretty easily, I think.
Dude, how messed up is this? Like, I was born in the country of Japan, and I don't have citizenship. I never had citizenship there. And maybe I never will unless I do something like you're talking about here. But yeah, that's one thing that differs from the U.S. Like if you're born in the U.S., it doesn't matter if your parents are citizens or anything. Like you are a citizen of the United States. Yeah. But Japan does not have that same rule, because people always ask me that. They're like, are you a dual citizen since you were born in Japan? And I honestly didn't know for most of my life, but I got that question so many times. I was like, I should probably Google this. And I did, and I learned that I'm not a citizen. So, bummer.
I'm
sorry, Steve.
Maybe one
day.
It
would be cool if you were. Maybe honestly, dude, living there. Actually, I think it would be really cool to live there for a bit. You can actually find houses for really cheap there if you want it. Like you can buy a house outright in Nara, which is south of Kyoto, where all the deer are. For like, you can buy a full 2-story house for like $80,000.
Wow.
Or less.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I know that's not very nomadic to own a piece of property, but it's really cheap. So that's like interesting. I think the quality, like getting around, right? Like if you were able to be nomadic, like if you are a nomad in Japan, the train system is just like, I don't know why we don't have high-speed rail in the U.S. I don't understand why
was
we
it
don't
awesome?
have it. Dude, we were like the bullet train. It was like going to the bullet train. You know, you go to the airport, you got to check in, you got to check your bag if you're like me and not a nomad, and I am not a minimalist, because I got to bring giant jackets and shoes, and I can't fit that in a fucking tiny little thing.
You gotta leave your gun. You gotta leave your guns at home. I always hate that. Like I always try to bring my guns on the airplane. Yeah, they're always like, dude, you can't bring all your guns that you have, and I'm so pissed off every time. I'm like, fine.
Yeah, well, just stupid shit. Like you got to do all that. You got to go through security. Like when we were coming back, we flew back through Detroit. You know when you fly international back in you get your bag off the international flight, and then you got to like recheck it back in. And then you got to go through a screen again. They pulled my bag, my backpack that I had on the plane. Like I rechecked my other bag. They pulled my backpack for searching it because my cell phone was in it. Like he pulled out. He's like, "Is this your bag?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Anything sharp in here?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I don't. There's nothing in there. Like I have a camera and a book and like my headphones." Pulls out my phone and like screens it for like whatever blast gel or whatever the fuck they screen for, and gave it back to me. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I doing this? All of that to say, getting on the bullet train, which is like the most, or the train, like, yeah, the bullet train is like the best long distance traveling mechanism they have there. You fucking scan your ticket and walk up, walk on, and that's it. Like, no security. Like, there's obviously like people that work there that are security, and they have security walking the train. But just like the ease of just being able to get on the train and no hassle and just like walk on, walk off, way millions times better than flying. I would.
Okay, so the security process sounds good, but I did hear that the public transit in Japan has an issue with public masturbation. Did you run into any of that? Did you see any guys grabbing their wieners on the train?
I definitely didn't run into anybody with their dicks in their hands. If that's what you're asking.
That's good.
No, I did not see anything like that. I was telling Amy that they had like an upskirt, like they had a problem with guys taking upskirts of girls, like because a lot of them wear like skirts all the time, either schoolgirl skirts or just like skirts in general. And all the skirts have like built-in like shorts now, I guess there, because like that's all we would see, and I think that's because of a byproduct of all these guys like trying to skirt shot. Yeah, I didn't see any public masturbation. I didn't see anything. The worst thing about that, I wouldn't say worst, but like the closest thing to saw that, like in Shinjuku, it's like the red light district, and like you would walk by hookers, but like they're like, and the Yakuza's like standing outside or like standing with them because they're like their pimps, and like, but the Yakuza were like cool. They're like, hey, what's going on?
It's like normal guys.
Yeah, like face tats, like Japanese face tats, and this guy, we walked by and he's like, oh, what's up, dude? And I was like, hey. And this is like the worst part of town, and it was like the literal mafia is like talking to you, but they're like really nice. So and then there's a bunch of those maid cafes and like host cafes, which I heard can get kind of shady, but we didn't go into that. So
like, what's the deal here? They have all this sex-oriented stuff, but they're not having enough kids. Like, how do we? What do they need to do there?
Well, I think you gotta do the full act, if that makes sense. Like no pulling out.
That would be.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why there's a declining birth rate there. I don't know why. I saw we saw a lot of couples.
So it's
we saw. What?
You say
I would consider
Japanese people always pull out, or like.
I would when you say the full act, I would consider like you can pull out and still do the full act. Like I still feel like
no.
Full,
I would say the full.
You got to really finish the job. Okay.
Full act is through climax. So yeah, that's full act. Like it'd be like you get the resolution. You know how like your storytelling, there's like a big there's the intro, there's the body of the
climax.
Story, there's the climax, and then there's the resolution.
Right.
It's like
right.
You have the resolution, so that's the full act. I think pulling out is just the climax, and you're forgetting the resolution.
I still feel like things get resolved though.
It's like a cliffhanger.
I think they're too educated there. Okay, so we see all these people in Africa, right? And they're so poor, just extremely poor. And like these moms, like they have like 7 kids and no money. And I'm like complaining to Alita. I'm like, dude, like these people need to not have, like if you're that poor, like don't bring more kids into this world so they're born into poverty. And she's like, well, maybe they're less educated on pulling out, like stuff like that. But Japanese people, I don't know.
At least I think it's more. I think in those cases, like it's kind of like old America. I think it's just old time in general. Like you had a shitload of kids so that they could work and like help provide for the family. Like I think a lot of it's that still. Maybe it's an education thing too. I also sometimes think it's a religious thing. Like you don't like any act of not fully doing the act is like not okay. Like I'm pretty like isn't that you went to Catholic school? Isn't that like a thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that why masturbation is a sin? Is because you're like aborting babies like in real time.
Yeah, yeah, I guess you could say that. Every time you jerk off, you're just aborting babies into the air when you jizz into the air. But no, we had this guy come talk to my Catholic school, and he was talking to us about abstinence. And he's like, you got to be a Taco Bellian. Think outside the bun.
That's what they said in school?
That's what this guy said to us. He was like, funny. He's like, I'm a funny abstinence guy. Ha ha. And he
So
said
you
all
want me
this
to
like
come in her
wild
mouth?
shit.
Is that what he's saying?
I'm not really
That's
sure.
a Japanese problem right there. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know why. I saw a lot of young couples there. I saw a lot of young people like doing, like, I guess on dates or whatever. Like, I assume they're young. Again, it's hard to tell whether they're like 16 or like 40. It's hard.
But
There were a lot of. I saw a lot of them, so I don't know. And we saw a fair amount of kids. Like, I saw kids around, and we saw babies around. Like, we had a few babies come up and talk to. We were at the Pokemon Center in Kyoto buying some stuff for our niece and nephew.
Sure, that was a crazy store.
Oh, it was very cool. Like, I played Pokemon growing up, so I'm just like, wow, like, just literally, they have a plushie of literally every fucking Pokemon.
Dude, okay. Dude, I think I messaged Amy this when she posted about it, but like, dude, I was always so because even though I said Dragon Ball Z, I'm a huge Pokemon guy, like huge, and like I was so jealous when I was a kid that they had a Pokemon World, and like America did not. I was like, dude, like I want to go to Japan just to go to that. So I'm really jealous that you got to go.
Yeah, it was cool. We got my nephew. He's like in a Pokemon now. He plays like the game, but he also collects the cards. I got him like a starter pack of cards, and it's like a Charizard, like super cool Charizard, like EX, some whatever they call him now, and it's like all in Japanese. So he's gonna be. I feel like he's. I had some Japanese cards growing up. I remember, and it's like obviously you can't read them, but I was like, this is cool. So yeah. I think he's gonna think
the
that's
back.
cool.
The back was cooler. It said Pocket Monsters on it, and like the ball was different. Those were sick.
Yeah, so we got him some stuff. Like, we got him this Pikachu stuffy that is like they only have in Japan. So he got some, like, he can like brag about it at school or whatever. So, yeah, that was cool. But I don't know why they're not having kids. I don't know. It seemed like there were kids around. Like I said, we had this. I had a kid come up and ask me where I was from in English, and then like ask me what my favorite food in Japan was, and had me show him, like, help him place a star on like a globe map of like where I was from. I saw kids, like we saw babies. Oh, at the Pokemon store, like this little Japanese baby was crying. She's crying like really loud, and she's standing right next to the line because of course the line to check out is like a mile long, and there was so many fucking gaijins there, dude. So many gaijins. But the baby's crying, and like she's holding the hand of her mom, and then like I kind of said something, and was like, "Oh, what are you crying about?" And she looks up, and then she just immediately stops crying and is just staring at Amy and I. Like, I don't think she's ever seen anybody like us before, so she was just like, "Whoa,
dude." Okay,
and
when I lived in Japan when I was a baby. My parents loved telling me this. So I used to have blonde hair because I'm a real man, and like I don't have blonde hair as an adult. Like, that's called maturity. Like, if you have blonde hair as an adult male, like, grow up, right? But anyway, I had blonde hair when I was a baby. It was really, it was really curly, and like I just had a huge like blonde afro. And like my parents were like, we couldn't take you anywhere. Like, we would get stopped on the street constantly, and people would just want to like touch my hair as a baby. And then I actually got hired as a model. Like, I can show you guys the pictures, but I was a model baby.
We'll need those up on the pod.
In Japan, and my mom and sister were too. Like, they were actors in commercials, all sorts of advertising, because they want white people, I guess, in their ads. So that was my family's side gig when we were in Japan.
We have some friends in Austin that their baby is a tri-citizen because the mom is Norwegian, the dad is French, and then she was born in America. So she has a passport for she has a passport for Norway, she has passports for France and in the US. But she's like 1 year old. They took her to Japan this spring, and then she was the same thing. Like, all the old like Japanese moms were like picking her up and like holding her. They never see, they see Japanese babies all the time. But they don't see white babies that much. Even though there's like a lot of white people that come to Japan or foreigners that come to Japan, they just don't see them as often. So
Well, they might not be seeing Japanese babies all the time, to be honest. I mean,
I guess so. So. Not doing the full act. But
Wow.
yeah,
A tri-citizen. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah, she's a tri-citizen.
But
But
I've heard of bi kids, but never tri kids. All right, sorry, go on.
Oh no, I mean, there's definitely tri kids out there for sure. There is, I think, maybe part of the reason the birthday. There's like a cultural thing where it's like there's a name for it, and I don't know what the name for it is off the top of my head, but it's like you're a hermit, like you're a grown adult, and it's usually a guy, and like you live at home with your parents to like forever, and you don't leave your room for like ever. It's like a thing there.
Like an incel.
And it's got kind of, but it's like they're not necessarily like or like women haters. They just kind of like keep to themselves, and there's a term for it. And I think that's gotten worse over the years from what I've seen or what I've read before. But there's a name for it. I can't remember, but it's like essentially like they're a hermit. So that's, I don't know. I guess maybe that's part of the reason why. I don't know, but yeah, they want foreigners to come there, so maybe that's I guess it's still probably going to be a tough nomad spot just with the time difference. But I mean, Jack, you've done like Bali and stuff, so maybe not.
just depends on how flexible your job is, I think.
Yeah, probably that makes sense. Yeah. Anything else? How much time we have? We can talk more. I don't know. I don't got anything. We can keep talking.
I'm good. I mean, we usually keep it to an hour. I think this one's already like an hour and a half. This can be an extended episode because it's our special interview and shit. I don't know. We don't know what we're fucking doing. Do you have any other sex stories? Like,
Six stories. I would I think it's just overall, just like when you go, find a balance of like doing stuff, but like make sure to just kind of sit and enjoy like it being different. I like that a lot. And maybe you guys get this from like living in other places too. Like Amy asked me what was the thing I was the most excited for before we were going, and I was like, I think just the like small stuff and just like how they do things a bit different than we do, just like everyday stuff. That was the most entertaining. Like I would just be on a train and it'd be interesting to just like people watch and see like what they were doing and like get used, like just kind of get into that world. Everybody's on their, I will say they're way more on their phones than we are. They're like balls deep in their phone all the time, everywhere.
They're doing the full act on their phone.
Yeah. Like you'd be walking through some of the busiest parts of Tokyo and there's people just on their phone, like, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people around them. And so they're way more in their phone. Maybe that's also why they're not having kids, is because they're on their phone all the time, maybe,
Now, is it true, like, everyone's super respectful there and shit? Like, did you notice that?
Yeah, everyone's respectful. There's like in Tokyo, especially like the younger kids aren't necessarily like, I wouldn't say they're necessarily respectful, but they're all, it's very close quarters. So they all are, I think they're just used to that and they respect other people's space because of that. And I also think that's why they're all on their phones all the time, is because they're like, they don't talk. Like in America, you'd like, if you got on a train, like somebody's like fucking yapping at you about something, or like, oh, what book are you reading? Stuff like that. Yeah. Like even when we were getting on the plane from Tokyo to leave, this guy was like, oh, finally somebody's going to understand my jokes. And I was kind of just like, I don't miss that. I don't know if I miss that.
I don't want to hear your jokes.
I don't know if I missed that. I kind of liked not having random people talk to me all the time. And yeah, it's like so it's not necessarily that they're. I would say the service people are definitely like over respectful. And kind of back to what I was saying at the very beginning of this was like there's just like an attention of detail and like politeness and just there's a lot of care. It seems like there's a lot of care, like even at the people that work at the convenience stores, like care a little bit more. Like in America, like you'll get a lot of people that just don't give a shit about, and even if they work a good job, they don't necessarily give a shit about what they're doing. And I think people like care a little bit more deeply, but I also think there's a dark side of that, and like they have to be like that, and so but they just know how to like push it down and like control it better, and they're still polite. But sometimes you could tell it's like politeness out of like this is just what I'm supposed to do, not necessarily because I'm genuinely like nice.
It's forced.
Because I mean, I think there's rude people everywhere. I remember Amy's parents and my in-laws were like, they didn't know if they wanted to go to France because they heard they're rude to Americans. And I was like, there's rude people in America to other Americans. Like,
yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah,
like, there's mean people everywhere. It's not like it was exclusively to one place or the other. But I thought that was interesting. Everybody kind of keeps to themselves. But there were also very nice people. Like, we got used to the train system because the train system can be kind of complicated. And because there's like trains, there's also subways. So there's like trains above ground, there's subways below ground. And some of the stations are like, stacked multi-levels. So you have to like walk up and down stairs, or like some of the bigger stations, you have to walk to different lines and things like that. And one time our ticket didn't work through the cross through, and it was like at the very end of the trip. And I was just like, no, I have this down. Like, I know what I'm doing now. And this woman just like, we couldn't get it to work or whatever. And this woman who didn't work there just stopped and just talked to us. She's like, are you having trouble? Like, you need something? And I was like, no, I think we're supposed to be doing this or that. And she grabbed the person that worked there and like translated for us, and they got us to the right spot. And like, she didn't have to do that. So that was really nice.
That's some of the best moments traveling, when random people help you. Like, that makes me feel, I just love that. That definitely makes me feel like the place I'm in is like, oh, the people are nice here. Like, when people do random acts of kindness, I really appreciate that, especially when you have no idea what the fuck's going on in a foreign country. So
it is nice. I think also I came away being like, I should care a little bit more about stuff, because like not necessarily all of them have a lot. Well, like, I don't know. We just like, we get jaded as we get older. We get jaded as we get older. We get more and more like in our own world, and just to see people like care a little bit more deeply about like everything that they did, even if they worked like a, whatever we would say it's like a less than job, but it's like, I don't think it's like treated the same way. I don't think it's viewed the same way there. And I think that's something that we could take out of what they do. Is just like, even if you like aren't living your dream, like you're not working your dream job or something, like just having thoughtfulness and caring into what you do, it matters. I think it matters. I think it matters to the other people that you're around. So, I think that was one of my biggest takeaways from the whole entire experience.
That was beautiful, man. I think I'm gonna cry, but that's also a good stopping point. Probably is the inspirational message. I like that we can end on a positive note. Thanks a lot, man, for coming on. This was very informative and interesting. Hopefully I can get to Japan. Hopefully I get there soon and hang out with all of our friends that we had there. They send us shit like for Christmas every year. Our friends from Japan. That's nice. Yeah, they sent me a Pokemon kimono one year, and that was awesome. Probably the best gift I've ever received. It just had printed like Pokemon all over it. It was amazing. But good
Jack,
shit, guys.
Are you gonna try and go back?
I'd go. I mean, I went for like, I think 2 weeks or something.
I was gonna say, you went like 4 or 5 years ago?
Honestly, I think it's been 6 now. Isn't that crazy?
Whoa. Yeah.
No, I loved it. I mean, a lot of things you were talking about, I was like, I felt like the food was really good too, so it's good. I would totally go back.
Well, cool. It's time to go. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys having me. Watch Watch, listen, and subscribe.
Arigato, Dashki.
Thank you.
Wait, what's the Nomad? No worries. That's the new one. That's the new name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nomads, no worries. You got it.
Has that guy?
Yeah,
has that guy reach? Has he rechecked in on you?
No, not yet. I should have tagged him and just really. Jack and I were like, we should just start a beef, because really,
like a rat beef.
the only person who had anything to gain from that beef was us. Like, if he started like posting about us, then like we would reach all of his followers. So we would have everything to gain from that beef. He would have everything to lose. I guess he was being the bigger man if he did see us post about him, but I don't know. But yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah. Passport, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Jack, you want to say your closing line? Close us out.
Take a weird trip. Thank you.